Alright, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike. This is going to be my reviews for new comics that were released on September 3rd, 2021. First up, we got DC. We got Wondergirl number 3. I went with the cover B on it. We're still, it picks up exactly where the last issue left off from the plane accident and Yara and her friend, and it looks like kind of maybe her brand new boyfriend, because it's somebody that she just met recently. But they are leaving the accident, and all of a sudden someone shows up and shoots at her, shoots an arrow, and we learn that it is Eros. As soon as he shoots the arrow at her, they show this kind of big mythical magical snake. We learn later on that only Yara can see it, that her friend, and I'm drawing a blank at her name, I'm bad with names, but that he can't see the snake, he can't see Eros or like everything else that's going on. So Yara kind of takes off, and she's following Eros and the snake, and she wants to help, and because it didn't look like the guy shot at her, not that Yara thought. So the boyfriend, he's running after Yara, and Yara's trying to follow Eros, and she starts running into monsters and stuff. Then she gets to this point, and we've already seen this character before, but I kind of get the feeling that this guy's here to help. Like he's kind of leading Yara on the path that she needs to go to, because it seems like, I mean, at first impression, all the monsters and everything are scary and everything. They look like, maybe to Yara's first impression that, it's like they're trying to hurt her, but I think they're just trying to hurt her. We do see some of the other stuff that has showcased, like the other Amazons for some reason being called to find Yara and either eliminate her or recruit her. We haven't learned why. It's something that has to do with prophecy, but we do see that like Artemis and the current Wonder Girl are, I think her name is Cassidy, but like that they are fighting off some of Nubia's people and stuff like that, and they end up tag teaming together trying to figure out, like, what's going on, and they're both looking for Yara. They get back to here where Yara finally, she gets tired of running around, and she tries to attack one of like the new monsters or whatever, and she's like, hold on, she pulls out her weapon, and the monster gets scared and everything, and Yara throws it, and it doesn't do anything. It kind of, like, as you can see, it just bounces off the ground. The monster's all like weirded out about it. I mean, he didn't even want to fight anymore. Right after, like, the monster kind of turns around and goes away, that's when we see Arrow show up, and he makes a comment that, like, he thought I had missed, but I never missed, and the arrow was already there. Like, the whole time she's been running, the arrow was there. But basically the arrow, what it does is it instantly, like, makes her fall in love with him. So automatically she just headstrong, she just starts following Eros, and even forgets about the other guy was there. There is like a little, like, moments where the guy does, like, he's calling out to her and everything, and because they show him here and he's there with all the mythical stuff, but as a reader, I got the impression that I don't think he can see any of that. He's just there. But he's calling out to her, like, Yara, where are you going? And Yara's like, man, for some reason I gotta go. And some of these creatures, the ones that look scary, they tell her that she needs to stay, and she takes the leave, and she leaves with Eros. And the next we see, she is in some kind of like afterlife or something like that. We don't know yet. They do show that Artemis and Cassidy, the other Wonder Girl, that they find some of the other tribes that are looking for Yara. So it looks like they might be teaming up. But we do see what happened with Yara and Eros, and they were flown up to Mount Olympus, and that Eros is basically like just a messenger to bring Yara to meet Hera. and that's basically where the issue ends at. So overall, I mean, the art is just amazing, amazing. Next up, DC, we got Harley Quinn 2021 Annual. This is the second book with the new artist, and actually after this book I really liked it. I mean, I liked the original artist when the run started, but the art in this book is just amazing. We are with Kevin, the clown guy, and then Solomon Grundy. They are looking for Harley Quinn. She has been kidnapped by the new villain Keepsake. Their investigation has led them to Mr. Freeze, and Mr. Freeze kind of like not, liking them entering, his lair and everything. He instantly freezes them, and the guy's like, wait, we're friends, we're just trying to get your help, and we just want questions. And so the rest of the book is this whole story where Kevin is telling Mr. Freeze what happened to Harley Quinn. And basically they start out like how they were, Harley and Solomon Grundy and Kevin were having a good night out in the town, and Keepsake shows up and kind of announces himself to Harley, and he instantly gets tagged as Creepsake, but he basically like shows up and says like, hey, you're part of my master plan, I need you to go along with this. I'm not here to hurt you or anything. He was like, I want to ask you something. And he does explain that at one time he worked for Joker, and that he was trying to be Joker's like #1 guy, and that because Harley Quinn was Joker's boyfriend at the time, and of course, really his #1 person, Harley was always in the way kind of thing. And basically, because she keeps trying to leave, he does end up threatening her with like fireflies, weapons. That's like his thing. That's why he's called Keepsake. He has a bunch of different like villains keepsakes and gadgetries, stuff like that. But he does end up using fireflies like weaponry, and he threatens her and like gets her to stop. But basically, he just invites her to dinner. Mr. Freeze is kind of weirded out about this and doesn't believe the story at this point. And, Kevin's like, wait, I'll explain. And so they explain that, Harley picked like the most eloquent restaurant in Gotham, and ended up meeting this guy there, and the guy was like in regular attire, and this guy Kevin, he was trying to keep Harley safe, and he ends up like kind of messing up everything, and Keepsake thinks that Harley sold him out and was trying to set up this trap, and it really wasn't like that. They do end up defeating Keepsake pretty easily, because he's basically like a C-lister villain at the moment. They're kind of building up that he's going to be something bigger. We're just not there yet. Mr. Freeze still doesn't understand how for one, he was able to like capture Harley, that kind of thing, after especially the story explanation. At this point, Kevin just goes into all the details of his detective work with Solomon Grundy, starting out with like Penguin, and he goes through various different villains like Two-Face and I think Killer Moth and Firefly, and basically a lot of the villains that Keepsake has shown to have stolen weapons from. They do end up running into Cheshire. And Cheshire has a big rivalry, hate for Keepsake, but eventually they all basically all the villains lead them to Mr. Freeze, and that catches us up with the present day. At the end of it, Mr. Freeze doesn't want to help. He doesn't care. The no-name villain doesn't, is not at his level, so he doesn't care. And Kevin kind of puts his foot down while he's head high in ice, and gets Mr. Freeze to help out, and he makes a deal with him. We do finally find out where Keepsake and Harley is, and Keepsake has recreated the Ace Chemical factory where Harley was basically turned into Harley Quinn, and she's not for it and this and that, especially because she's over the Joker, and he's just missing out on pieces of Harley's life. He even has a whole Harley costume that he's trying to get her dressed in while he's chained her up. Eventually, as you can see, she does end up breaking out, and a fight ensues where he uses like, different numerous weapons that he has on him. But eventually, Harley, it kind of a draw, because in the end of it, they both end up going into the bad, finding out that they're not vats of acid. It's just like Kool-Aid that's down there. But she gets all wrapped up in the chains and is left down there. And luckily, at the same time, Mr. Freeze, Solomon Grundy, and Kevin come along and find Harley and save her before she's drowned. Keepsake does kind of run off, and he's like, I'm gonna be the biggest villain ever, and that's basically it from Keepsake's part. We do see that Solomon Grundy and Kevin's deal with Mr. Freeze was that he had to do a birthday party of Mr. Freeze's niece or something like that, and that's basically it. They kind of show that Mr. Keepsake or Creepsake, it has something more diabolically planned coming, like maybe he's going to start reconstructing the weapons into his own thing. Next up, from Bad Idea, we got the lot number 3. I can say the art is stellar, as you can see on the cover. It is phenomenal. As far as the story, the first issue was really good. I was really into it, but it's okay. It's not bad or anything. It's just it was kind of a letdown, because I thought it was going to be something else. But basically, this new director has bought this lot of a Hollywood like franchise, decondemned lot or something like that, and she ends up buying it and finds out it's this horror thing, and she wants to make it her own and get more rich and famous off of it. And she finds out it's got like this past, and it's haunted, and they're basically these executives, and that's why this person's showcased on the cover, is because these like 5 like executives in the past made this deal with this like I forget what they call him. I'll tell you in a second. But they made this deal with like a demon, and they would get like all their wishes granted, and basically they either had to pay with like sacrifice through blood or something like that, or they had to pay with love, like somebody they loved, whether it was like fleeting or continual love, something like that. And I think the bad guy's name is the Binder, because that's kind of what he does. He binds contracts, with his clientele kind of thing. At this point, they're going back into the lot, and the main character is trying to bring the Binder out, because she's like, well, I mean, I have nothing to fear. I don't have a contract, I mean, you can't touch me, blah, blah, blah. There is this lady they show on the front, and she is the last member alive from the original binding of the contracts. And she's made it a pact, like, not to enter, because she's all, they kind of show her right here. She doesn't want to go near that binder thing, because she has not fulfilled her part of the contract, and is going to die. And they do show you that it doesn't matter. Like, as soon as she saw the binder, that she gets all hypnotized by him, and kind of just walks into him, and he gives her a hug, and she just kind of burns to death on her own accord and doesn't stop it. At that point, like, from the main characters, like, this would be like the end of the movie, where the movie's over, like, oh, the demon's been defeated, the binder's done, but this is the 3rd issue out of 4, right? So basically at this point, it's like they kind of show you that, like, oh, okay, that the mystery's been revealed to the world, and that the whole world finds out about this, like, these 5 peoples that made this pact and everything. Somehow it does retaliate to this director lady, I think her name is Antoinette, that made the deal, that bought the new lot recently, trying to uncover all this, the details and stuff. And we find out at the very end that somehow, some way, that the binder is showing up to make a new pact with her. And we'll have to see from the next issue, because as far as we know, she has not made, on the contract sense of things, she has not signed anything, with the binder. with the Trapper Keeper. Alright, so it has a side story, and all these side stories and Bad Idea was actually better than the main read, but this is Monsters in My Life. And it's such a weird story. It's about a brother and sister and how they grew up together, and their mom and dad are alcoholics. I love the way they talk about the alcoholics. It's very realistic and sad. Sucks. Especially because it's about two kids growing up in a house, and the parents are just drunk all the time. Like right here, they just, and it's like their parents don't even know if they're going to school. They don't even know if they're eating. But the two brother and sisters have prevailed, and I mean they're going through life and stuff. And one day, they start calling the mom and dad monsters. It's like their keyword. Hey, the monsters are up. They've gone to sleep, kind of thing. So their drunken parents don't know they're talking about them. They might think they're talking about a TV show or something like that. So they show right here. One day they were talking about the monsters, and the sister didn't hear the brother for a while, and she knocks on his wall because they share bedrooms. And an antenna comes through the wall, and she's like, wait a minute, I don't remember my brother having an antenna. So she goes in there and finds out that somehow, some reason, her brother is mutating into this weird, like, cockroach looking humanoid thing. And he's all weirded out about it. And he almost to the point where he wants to be killed, and he doesn't like, it gets real depressing real quick. But his sister does that sisterly thing. She's like, nah, we're gonna live through this, we're just gonna keep going and stuff. The story does jump around, like, here and there, but it kind of jumps forward, and they've been dealing with this, and the sister's feeding him in secret. The parents have not found out somehow, and at this point it's almost been like a year later that the boy has changed into this mutant thing. And the sister is getting older and going to school, and she's starting to talk to a boy, and eventually she goes on a date, and her brother, the mutant, he kind of follows her on the date, because he's excited for her at the same time, so he wants to be a part of it. It's not like he's stalking her, or it's more like he wants to keep her safe, but he's excited, he wants to be a part of the experience. But they both know his appearance and everything. The guy does end up trying to get a little too touchy-feely, so the brother ends up coming to her rescue and actually saving her life, and killing the other guy. It shows that it does create like a more closer bond with the brother and sister, and they kind of just continue on their life like that, because they keep showing that she's like dating other guys, and they keep turning up missing. So it looks like that was kind of like one of the middle stories, like they've been doing it for a while. I don't know, but that's that story. Really fun, weird, unique. All of them are like that. Alright, so we got Dark Horse Comics, Lucky Devil #2 from Colin Bunn. Another great read, man. The first read was really, really good. The second read did not disappoint. I'm drawing a blank at the main character's name. I think it is Stanley, and I'm going to go with that. You're just going to have to use your imagination if that's not his name. Bad with names, I'm sorry. I think it is Stanley. So we're with Stanley, and he's actually holding this kind of like I want to say it's like a get-rich scheme type of infomercial kind of meeting and stuff, and they show you that there's a lot of people that need help in the world, and he's going, that was what the first page is all about, and he's doing this whole speech about like betterment, and how giving the powers that he has recently been granted, because if you've not read the first issue, this is about a exorcist that went wrong. Stanley was possessed by a devil or a demon that had immense powers and could do all kind of crazy stuff, and he had an exorcist. They went bad, and somehow he retained the powers, and the demon got exorcised, and the demon lost his powers. So now it's just Stanley with the devil powers. But he is holding this infomercial type meeting and stuff, and really he's trying to set up this church of him. And this guy in the crowd stands up, and he's like, oh, you false idol, like a religious type of guy, and tries to shoot him. We see Stanley like kind of use this moment to showcase his powers, because he instantly grabs the guy telepathically or telekinetically, and basically snaps, and just all his skin just gets ripped off. Um, he kind of says to the crowd, and the crowd kind of sees and everything. We do see a girl in the background that is like extremely excited about all this. But Stanley basically is like, look, I'm not a bad man, and he re-snaps his fingers, and all the skin, I mean, the guy gets fixed, and he's like, look, he was like, you're the one that tried to hurt me, that's not what I'm about, just because I have these powers, I'm not that demon, that was that other thing, I had it exercised, right, now I have the powers. And he's like, and with great powers comes great stuff I can do, basically, is what he's telling everybody. So everybody kind of gets on board, and they jump forward where he's, after everything. We do see that there's like this group that mentions that the Antichrist has risen or something like that, and they think he's the Antichrist. We find out that the girl that was all excited is his girlfriend, and she's excited because like his church idea and stuff is kind of taking off. They jump a little bit more into the future, and where he's having like fundraisers, and he already has his like own compound, and he already has followers, and the church is already starting to, it's like an established thing, kind of. Not, I wouldn't say big, but it's getting there. But it's like some kind of gathering or something, and basically somebody, a famous person, but in certain realms or whatever. But it's like the leader of a satanic cult, basically, or like the most famous leader. But he shows up, and he's like, hey, I've been meaning to talk to you. And our guy Stanley is like, look, I'm not trying to step on any toes, you got your thing, I'm doing my thing. And they're like, no, we want to work together, we want to kind of like join up, kind of thing. He never really gives them an answer or anything. He kind of tells them like, look, I'm trying to do like my own church, kind of thing. I don't need your, I have real powers. I don't need, y'all are believing in something you don't even know. But Stanley kind of gets weirded out, and he runs off and everything. And the reason why he was getting weirded out is because Zed's like, he was somehow trying to get his attention. He runs upstairs, and Zed's up there, and Zed basically has this conversation, and Stanley instantly tries to think that like Zed is back to take his powers, and he might be, but at the same time Zed is like, nah man, he's like, that's not why I'm here. He was like, well, you have to understand, right, I was a big kind of badass and everything. He was like, I was a big high-level, demon and everything. He was like, but now that you got my powers, you kind of took that mark on your back too. So he was like, just, I had all those powers, but I also had enemies. And he was like, so now you got my enemies coming for you. He was like, so I'm just going to kind of lay back and chill, and I'm going to let you deal with them. So they kind of show you what's coming, and they show you like these like 3 or 4 entities that are coming in the next issues. And we're going to have to see what Stanley, is going to have to deal with everything. But yeah, a really good read. I'm really excited for it. As far as I know, I think it's a 4-issue book, so it looks like it's going to tie up pretty quickly. Last but not least, from Boom Studios, we got Basilisk Chapter 4. Colin Bunn, a lot, dropping a lot this week, but everything Colin Bunn wrote this week has been excellent. The art in this book is amazing. It is two-tone. You'll see right here they do like a watercolor thing, and then they do like a hand-drawn type of art. They've done it in every issue, and it's just amazing. In a nutshell, basically a version of X-Men, but a horror style. It's a bunch of individuals that were tested on and secretly now have powers, and they kind of woke up and escaped at whatever facility they were being held at, and while they were escaping they kind of massacred and went crazy, and they were being held prisoners, so they kind of like kind of went crazy on a whole town and killed a whole bunch of people. the rest of the story is basically about one of the victims from one of that family from that massacre, and she wants revenge because they killed like her family. And she has kidnapped one of those members, and now is trying to trap the rest of the group. At this point in the book, the kidnapped member of the kidnapper has, because they're the main characters, you know, we have them right here, and we're just going to call her Val because she's wearing a veil, and I don't know where her name is, but you know, we're catching up with our main characters, and they're basically setting the trap and everything, and for you know, the group to come and everything, and she sets everything up, and they have like the bad group with all the powers. They do have this following because now that because this is a little bit in the future, but I forget what they're called. They're called the Senses or something like that. The Church is something like that. But we're gonna go with that. But she's waiting for the senses to show up because that's what they are. They all have powers of the sense: taste, touch, you know, feel, and it's all related to them. Of course, the girl with the veil over her face, she has sight. Basically, when her power is like when she looks at people, she's able to kill like anything she sees. But she's with like the kidnapper. She's waiting for the, you know, church, you know, the Senses church to get there. Not even the Senses. She knows it's going to be a bunch of their like low-level lackeys that show up, and she ends up taking out basically most of them without even them knowing where she is, all like Rambo style. The Senses do show up, and they're not even worried about her kind of thing. They're like, we'll let her have her fun. Eventually they do get close enough where they do go after her, and they find out that she's a lot smarter than they anticipated because she has taken preventative measures to fight them, like using Vicks Vapor Up to block smell. Of course, she's got the suit. She's using like ear dampening like technology, and so she can't hear anything. She has stuff in her mouth to prevent, you know, anything that does get in her mouth, to make sure she can't taste anything. We do see that she does put up a good fight, and she gets quite, I mean, they do get in some good licks, but eventually Val has to step in and help, you know, help the kidnapper. And the Senses, they act like they didn't know Val was there, but they also knew that Val was going to betray them and everything, that she wasn't truly one of them, because they're all kind of like evil. Well, not all of them. There's like two that's kind of wishy-washy, and they're just kind of following suit. But the leader, the one in the white hair, she kind of just goes nuts because she's really butthurt that Val has betrayed him and everything. We do see that Manny, and Manny's the one on the cover. His is sound, and he has this way where he can talk to anybody and he can hear anything, and it doesn't matter where they are on the planet. I mean, it's basically like telepathic, but without the brain power. He just basically can hear anything anywhere, and he can talk to anybody anywhere. So he's been talking to our main character as the issues have been going. And he's been waiting to see Val, and he's been kind of telling them that he was already going to help the Senses, you know, like calm down and everything. And as that happens, we see that the kidnapper ends up taking a chance, and she kills one of these Senses. I mean, that's her goal. She's supposed to be trying to kill all the Senses. And so Manny has her back turned to her, and she shoots him down, and it's sad to say, but he was one of the like so good, you know, Senses. We do have a kind of a quick goodbye, and basically that these Senses are going to come back and have to teach, you know, the kidnapper and Val a very important lesson about messing with them and their whole like church ideology thing they got going. I mean, a really amazing issue, and you talk about the cover to get, you know, I mean, after knowing the story and everything. But that's my review. I got more coming. I've actually read a lot. I just need to do the videos. So I will be back with you soon. Alright guys, like, comment, subscribe, share. I hope you all have a good one. I will see y'all soon.